It's Platt, and today I tried a beer that almost wasn't. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. The particular beer we're going to try today is the Firestone Walker Velvet Merkin. It is a barrel-aged oatmeal stout. Has a funny backstory to the beer, but first let's talk about Firestone Walker. Firestone Walker is the 16th largest craft brewer in America. It was founded in 1996 by David Walker and Adam Firestone. Firestone is the great-great-grandson to Harvey Firestone, the founder of Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. So hey, they had a little head start there. And they also had another little head start when they utilized the family vineyard, the Firestone family vineyard, as the headquarters or as the site of the original brewery. Both of them, though, took full advantage of that and has actually created a brewery that's one of the more well-awarded breweries out there. In 2006, their Pale Ale was named Best Beer in America by the Men's Journal. Firestone Walker has been named Best Mid-Sized Brewery at the World Beer Cup 4 different times, 2004, 2006, 2010, and 2012. So they've established a great reputation as a brewer of high-quality beers. They were sold, like a lot of craft breweries, they were sold to a larger brewery, but they weren't sold to one of the major conglomerates like InBev or Heineken or whatever. They were sold to Duvel Mootgart Brewing. Those are the people that produce the fine, strong ale Duvel, personal favorite of mine. One of the things researching Firestone Walker that I had not known about or something I learned about is they use a variation on something called the Burton Union fermentation process. What it is a series of interconnected oak barrels that are used for fermentation. And they allow for the blow-off of the foam, or in homebrewing you'd use the term kreuzen, that happens during fermentation. They allow for that blow-off to happen without additional headspace being created in those barrels. That additional headspace can lead to oxidization, and you don't want that in your beer. So they create this system that's like an interconnected trough between the barrels. It also helps maintain yeast vitality, and it also helps maintain that yeast strain from one generation to the next. One of the breweries in England that uses this has been able to maintain the house yeast strain for over 100 years, so that's pretty impressive. I believe nowadays in England there's only one brewery licensed to use the true Burton Union system. Firestone Walker has a variation of that, and I believe there's one or two other breweries out there that do that, but this is a very rare brewing process used, so I thought that was kind of unique. Before we try the Velvet Merkin, though, let's check out the stats. As I said in the start of the video, this was the beer that almost wasn't. Firestone Walker has produced plenty of different beers. They're always kind of pushing the envelopes, and they have a series of barrel-aged beers. And they were wanting to kind of work on something, play around with an idea. In this particular instance, it's an oatmeal stout, barrel-aged oatmeal stout. They used bourbon barrels from Heaven Hill Distillery and Woodford Reserve. Anyway, they were playing around with this, and this was going to be something that was just going to be in the tasting room. It's not necessarily meant for mass production or to be bottled or, to be distributed wide. Just something they wanted to play around with, so they gave it a kind of a funny name, Velvet Merkin. Again, at the time, it was just something they played around with. They didn't have any aspirations for it to be sold nationally, and with a name like Velvet Merkin, for those of you out there that's not familiar with the term Merkin, Merkin refers to a pubic hair wig. It was used or first created in the 15 and 1600s by sex workers back then. Obviously, hygiene was probably a big issue back then, and the sex workers would shave their pubic areas to avoid things like crabs. But back then, people weren't prepared for that area to be shaven, so they would have these wigs called merkins. Obviously, playing around and, you know, giving something the name Velvet Merkin. Again, something not necessarily thought of for mass production. They produced the beer, kind of let it go after that, but they got feedback from people, hey, that had tried it, like, hey, where's that Merkin beer? We love that Merkin beer, whatever. So finally, they decided to do a full release to the public, bottle, and sell to the distributors. They've gotten a lot of positive feedback. Now they do kind of a vintage year with the Velvet Merkin. This particular one is the 2018 release. They've also now added another Merkin named beer. They have a Mole Merkin, which is has a little spicy, I think Peruvian peppers or something like that to it. So interesting little backstory on the beer that almost wasn't. I like that comes this little box, fancy little presentation. Let's give the Velvet Merkin a try. Oh, this is another one that pours almost oil black. We got probably not even half a finger of dark khaki head. Let's give it a smell. Oh, this smells like it's going to be big. A lot of dark malt notes. A little cocoa on there. Ooh, I definitely get that bourbon. Oh man, that is thick, malty, chocolatey. A little hint of that bourbon, a little bit of the vanilla. Maybe a hint of coffee, but not much. Sweet, but not overly viscous or cloying sweet. Yeah, this is a good example of the bourbon barrel thing, man. You pick up that dark wood, the caramelization of the wood in that on top of that oatmeal stout. The oatmeal provides a little smoothness to it. Different than the nitro stout we tried before, but oatmeal kind of provides, when you add that in home brewing, provides kind of almost like a creamy texture or smoothness to the beer. And this beer is smooth, but it's also big too. This is definitely a wintertime beer, and I think the kids at Firestone Walkers nailed this one. It's a pretty good little beer. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions for beers for me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Until next time, bottoms up.